Patrick McNeil, joined now by new Cape Breton Eagles head coach Jon Goyens, and we have a lot to talk about a lot of different things. But Jon, I'll start off. Did you make out okay with all the craziness that's been going on in Cape Breton this week?
Yeah, made out all right. I bunkered down actually with our general manager, Sylvain Couturier. When the winds died down and the owner of the house can fire up the generator, I ended up cooking for everybody under the roof for a couple days. We had a few stragglers come in. From there, we just got outside to see the damages, and I guess I'm okay. Unfortunately, still some players, like a lot of people in our community, that are in the dark.
Yeah, it's been a challenging week for so many people in the community. We hope everybody listening to this is doing as best they can. What kind of logistical issues has this week provided? I'm sure there have been plenty. Have you worked around players being at houses with no power, and how have practices gone this week?
Well, first and foremost was checking in on the people that we deal with, not the players, right? They're people first. They are the sons of 23 sets of parents. And so it was trying to get a hold of them was tough, right? A lot of cell networks were down. And so it made it difficult. And once we were able to figure out what we were going to do logistically, hockey-wise, the people at Member 2 Arena were phenomenal in their response to our needs and said, come on over. And as of Monday afternoon, we brought all our stuff there. It allowed us to get some FaceTime with the players, and we didn't even bother going on the ice. We could have, but we said, let's check in on everybody, see how everybody's doing. And we had players that were requesting just a shower or charge their cell phones or have internet connections so they can connect back with home. And as a parent, that would be uneasy if I knew my son wouldn't be able to get a hold of me and vice versa. So I think that part put a lot of people at ease. A lot of the players they've showed me another level of resiliency. And obviously the last couple of years obviously tested that for a lot of them. But we hit the ice Tuesday in Member 2, and we've been there ever since. And the practices, honestly, the level of focus, engagement, enthusiasm, pace has been unbelievable. And again, what they've brought to the table on a daily basis, whether it be in video meetings or just engaging with the coaching staff off the ice, has developed my resilience. We all get tested here and there, but as a person that's always said, I try to be like a sponge. Physically, I might look like a sponge, but you try to be a sponge and you never know who you can learn from. And I'll be honest, I'm learning from the guys right now and how they're dealing with this. And it's pulled the best out of myself this week. And I think it's pulled the best out of our coaching staff.
Well, that's great to hear. Certainly everybody in the community is looking for any sort of silver linings they can find. And we will talk about the hockey aspect of this in a second, but I also wanted to touch on the guys getting out in the community. I know they're helping meals and all that. Obviously, you're providing the service to the community, but I think the players also enjoy that engagement. They're probably pretty happy to help out. What kind of feedback did you get from that exercise for the players?
Part of it was definitely to lend a couple hands. It's not just the fact that this is our fan base, but people were in need. And there were obviously even much better stories out there of families pulling up their barbecues on George Street, or families at Jay's and Chicken in Glace Bay. And there's several others where people just opened up their restaurants or opened up their fridge and started cooking for people on street corners and feeding the community for free. You have a bunch of students doing the same thing out of their garage. And then it was just a no-brainer. The guys got to get out and they've got to help. And they're all physically really strong and mentally. We thought as a staff that it would be a phenomenal opportunity for them to have some normalcy and see maybe other people that are struggling and maybe their situation isn't as bad. And also, it was a bit of an activity. If not, they were just going right back to potentially, this might be a bit dreary, but a bit of darkness by going back to a billet house that doesn't have power, or a billet house that's in the dark, or maybe no running water, or whatever the case may be. And it got them out. It also establishes team bonding. And I think for those 2 days that we did it, and I think it was a no-brainer.
No doubt about that. Well said, and a lot of great examples you cited there in the community. Now, this is your first year in Cape Breton, first game. I'm sure that's always pretty exciting for a coach. Why did you want to be the new coach of the Cape Breton Eagles?
To be honest, I wanted to be back behind the bench, ideally as a head coach, depending on the level. Never say never to an assistant job per se, but opportunities to become a head coach again don't open up that often. If you look in the Quebec Major Junior League, it's either a lot of the same people get those jobs or they just don't open that often. And sitting on the sidelines was by choice at first, and then you don't know when that opportunity is going to come up. So I'm a coach at heart, but not by any stretch of the imagination do I think I'm a natural born coach, or I'm not going to make any type of crazy statements like that. It's something that I've worked at a long time. I've worked at being a head coach, but I've worked at being just a coach, but a teacher, mentor. The last couple of years had me pivot and do coaching in a different format, in I guess a quote unquote non-traditional sense, and through Zooms and some physical interactions. But I felt that having had that opportunity in Baie-Comeau, and then having had to step away for the right reasons, to be honest, there was, you want to call it unfinished business. It's what I wanted to do. And I had gone through interview process at certain levels, including pro, and most of those were assistant, and they didn't come to fruition. However, the opportunity arose with Cape Breton, and it happened real quickly. And I thank Sylvain to have given me this opportunity.
For those that don't know your story in full, you get into the Q coaching at Baie-Comeau, and there was so much uncertainty with everything, not just hockey, in that 2019-2020 season, that understandable someone would take the time to step away from coaching, and it's nice to see you back in the ranks. Obviously, you've had a chance to feel out what your team has through preseason and whatnot. Do you get an idea of what a Jon Goyens coach team looks like, what type of style you like to employ, or is that more dependent on the players you have?
I think to the last part of that question, I think that I look at it as you're either a chef or a specialist. And a chef will open up a pantry, open up a fridge, walk in, and will cook pending on the ingredients available. A specialist would be someone that says, I'm going to cook lobster bisque. I only cook lobster bisque. However, when given the opportunity to cook something else, and they were given the ingredients to cook shepherd's pie, and they can't execute, well, that's not the ingredients' fault. That's the specialist's fault. So I always look at it as kind of like that element. There's got to be a give and take, and there's got to be an assessment of the players that you have. However, in saying that, being a development league where, yes, absolutely people want to win, and I believe winning is part of the development, it's easy to just say, be cliche. You want to be hard to play against, and and we want to play with pace. We want to bring context to all those things. And we want players to play way more with their instincts, with an understanding of the foundation of how each player, when they're on the ice, is interconnected. Those 5 players have to be interconnected. I believe they've been too structured or too rigid or too restricted growing up, because sometimes the bottom line was you just got to win. But in Adam, Pee Wee, Bantam, Midget, so on and so forth, you take away their abilities to play with instincts. And so we want to build a real nice foundation of what is part of our habits, what is part of our standards, which are evolving as we go along in the season. Yes, we want to play fast, but we want to play fast with poise. Yes, we want to be, hard to play against, but we want to be disciplined. Yes, we want to be physical, but it's got to have a purpose. Yes, we want to possess the puck, but it's got to be done intelligently. So I think what most fans are going to see is they're going to see that evolve. They're going to see a certain forecheck. They're going to see a certain D-zone coverage. They're going to see certain things in the neutral zone. However, the biggest thing is you're going to see players play on their toes, because they're going to be so interconnected as a unit of 5 that their instincts were just going to take over. And when you put all of that together with their compete and their details, that's when the talent just rises to the top.
It's an interesting perspective, and it's going to be interesting to see all these new faces try to meld into a cohesive team. Obviously, you've had training camp to work on that. We'll have plenty of time throughout the year to talk about specific Eagles players, but I wanted to zero in on Halifax. Given everything that's gone on this week, I'm not sure how much time you would have had to have done video. What do you expect from a Mooseheads team that you'll see plenty of this season?
It's very obvious. Having actually been somewhat attached to some of those players coming out of Lac St. Louis, Zumet was on the ice with him when he was a kid. I'm not going to claim to have coached him per se behind the bench or anything like that, but having been on the ice in hockey schools with guys like himself, James Swan I've known since he was 9 years old, Vidicek, same type of thing. and even L'Heureux, who I coached in summer hockey at one point with a bunch of our O3s. And then we got to see them a little bit here in preseason. And it's very apparent that they are a team that has a huge offensive upside to them. They are in that year 3 of their maturation process, if you will. So I think it's a team that you cannot sleep on in terms of their ability. They're going to be highly skilled. They're going to be a team that will make you pay for any, it's not just turnovers, but turnovers that have poor intent or poor effort. And I think that's where not only the instincts of our players, but the intelligence and our game fundamentals and understanding situations will have to match their high-octane offense.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the teams match up all season long. Great rivalry between the two clubs, and it should be fun this season. Jon, welcome to Cape Breton, and best of luck this season.
Thank you.